Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. I know don't want to take up too much of y'all's time. This is going to be kind of a short, quick webinar over a couple of things. I know a lot of you do not have the JTurner dashboard and ratings tracker, but this is a great way to also just reviews in general. And we're going to talk about reviews. We're going to talk about how to respond to reviews, the best practices during this time. And then we are going to talk a little bit about the JTurner dashboard and checking your red alerts and things like that. So, you know, even if you don't have JTurner and ratings tracker, don't worry. This is still going to be very, very beneficial for you. So we're going to go ahead and get started today. So if you have questions throughout the presentation, go ahead and put them in the chat box. Shelby's going to be checking it throughout, and we'll answer your questions. In this presentation is available to you as well. And always, I can't stress this enough, always, always, always ask questions. Reach out to your RMD. This is what we're here for. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So here is some updates on a couple of the review sites. Now, not all of the review sites have put out information about what they're doing or if they're pausing, but these three have put out updates, and obviously Google and Yelp are two of the major ones. So we wanted to just kind of give you an update. I'm sure your RMD has let you know about this, but I just kind of wanted to touch base and kind of let you know what the game plan is, what going forward we should be doing, taking care of. So with Google, they have currently suspended all reviews. So the reviewer is able to still review, make the review, but they will get a notification saying, hey, this review will not be posted. The site will get the review, but it will not be posted. Same thing with the responses. You are able to go in and respond to that review, but it will not be posted. Now, they haven't let us know what they're going to do when they turn it all back on, but we're assuming when they do turn it all back on and kind of let the reviews come back, that's going to kind of open the floodgates. Excuse me. And so please make sure as you are getting a notification or you're checking for your reviews, make sure that you are responding to them because they're not going to go away. They are going to show and come back. Just at this time, they're currently paused. So just FYI on that. But they will be posted at a later date. Yelp, they are just basically scrutinizing each review related to COVID. So if a reviewer is saying, something about office hours or they're not able to come in, things like that, Yelp is closely monitoring that and flagging it. And they will, I know that they will remove that review or let you remove it. But they are just monitoring. So we're still seeing Yelp reviews come across. So just keep in mind, and we'll talk about this in a second, but you should be looking at this on a daily, weekly basis. And especially if you do not have JTurner, where you get a notification every time a review happens. So making sure you're looking at these reviews and then responding. Apartment Ratings has a flag option where you can flag that review, and then Apartment Ratings will then remove that review or help you respond to that review. And that, reviews are still being posted on there. They're not being, even if it's flagged, it's still going to show. So making sure that you're looking at that review, double checking it, things like that. So just a recap on the reviews. Always, always, always look at your reviews, respond to your reviews. Yes, Google is pausing the reviews, but they will be back. So making sure that you are taking care of those. For the time being during all this, we did turn off your Facebook reviews. because that is the only site where we're able to kind of turn that off and turn that on. So currently, all of your Facebook reviews are no longer showing, or a person is not able to respond or make a review. We will, as soon as Google says that they're turning back on their reviews, we will be turning back on ours too. So just, and we will for sure let you know for that, because during that time, they're not able to make a review, but after we turn it back on, they will be able to make a review. So we will keep you updated, but just kind of FYI on that, all the reviews on Facebook are no longer showing. So we wanted to talk about some review response tips during this time. I know a lot of you, have staffers that respond to reviews, or if you have JTurner, you kind of have a template to go off of. But this is a different time, especially if a resident or a prospect or anybody is writing about COVID or your response to COVID or anything like that. So we just kind of wanted to give you some tips over this. So the number one is just be empathetic about it. The situation is an anomaly today, and so many people are extremely anxious. So be empathetic while reading and responding to all the reviews, and then reassure residents that the management is making every effort to follow guidelines from trusted sources like the CDC, and that we're looking out for everybody. So just always remember that they're going through a hard time, so be empathetic when you're responding and thinking about reviews. Always monitor your reviews. Make sure your staff and your teams are looking at this daily or weekly, so that you're not having a bad review, or a resident that needs help, even that just went to the review site to find some help, and it's sitting there for weeks on end. So making sure that you're monitoring it. For those that have JTurner with Ratings Tracker, you're getting a notification each time that review is being made, so you're seeing that. But for those that do not have JTurner or Ratings Tracker, make sure you're monitoring this and nipping any apprehensions or further gossip right then and there, so it doesn't snowball into a bigger issue problem. Make sure you outline a proactive response. So make sure you're collaborating with your teams, your regional, your R&D, to develop a brief response on the measures on your property that you're taking to prevent the spread of this virus. Let them know. Do you know that you have increased sanitation and cleaning? You're closing up certain amenities. You're canceling of the resident events, that we're doing virtual events. Your policy changes involving maintenance. The more information that they have that what you're doing, the better. If y'all have a B work schedule, let them know of this. Always send out your communication via email, phone, resident portal. We talked a lot about eBlast, MailChimp, Message Center. Make sure you're overly communicating with your residents at this time, and it's going to help that frustration and that anger if they have any. So always defer to a trusted authority. We don't want to just start finding information off Facebook and sharing it if you have an issue. Make sure you quote something like the CDC, your federal and state and local offices. You don't want to just start sharing information on Facebook, because we know that pretty much anything and everything on Facebook is not always true. So make sure you always defer to a trusted authority, whether it be new information about the virus or guidelines to handling. I know something just came out yesterday about face masks in counties coming on. So making sure you're sharing that information from either the CDC or local authorities. And remembering that together we are better. Make the residents feel involved. asking for their suggestions on what they would like to see on property, or what they can do to maintain a clean and hygienic environment. Just making sure that you let them know that we're in this together and we're a team. That's just going to go so far, especially if a resident is, scrutinizing your processes or how you're handling things. Let's ask for some advice. Say, hey, okay, what do you think? What do you think we should do? Now, of course, can't take everything, but listen to them. That is probably 99% of what they even want to say. A lot of that, even when we have an angry resident, a lot of times all they want to do is let you know they're angry. So reminding them that we're in this together. Always make sure you steer the conversation offline if it becomes heated or it's starting to escalate. Make sure you stop it right there and then steer it offline. Say, I'm going to give you a call immediately about this. And then make sure you get your RMD involved, because we have ways to help that it doesn't continue on social media. And we can start blocking, because we don't want to completely remove reviews, but we do want to not have a chain of 50 long comments on it, things like that. So make sure you reach out to your RMD at that time. But always try to, especially if it's starting to get escalated or heated, make sure you steer that conversation offline. And then always communicate with the residents. I mean, I kind of mentioned this, overtly communicating, letting them know what you're doing. If you have changes in your policies, let them know that you're doing it. A lot of the times people get frustrated because they had no idea of a particular situation or what's going on. So making sure you're calling, emailing, things like that. They just don't want to be surprised, and so make sure you're overly, and that's going to help so much in reviews. So now we're going to talk about effectively using your JTurner dashboard. So this is going to kind of be a little more towards the people that do have JTurner and ratings tracker. But it is kind of good best practices in anything. It's just to double check things and make sure you're taking care of it. So with red alerts, when your property receives a red alert, you will receive a notification saying, hey, you've got a red alert. A resident or a prospect has requested contact. So making sure that you're monitoring these and you're responding to them immediately. The policy is to respond to them in 24 hours. So making sure that we're doing that. We should have no red alerts after 24, 48 hours. And if you have an issue doing you need help with something, make sure you're reaching out to your regional, your RMD. But that's probably the biggest advice right there is when you get one, you take care of it immediately. So during this time, JTurner has added a group of words related to coronavirus to each of your accounts. And so when a prospect or a resident uses one of these words, you will get a notification saying this word has been used. That way you can go log in, look at the survey, and see what the prospect or resident has said. And then you always want to make sure you monitor all your keyword alerts. And again, when you do get a keyword alert, you get an email saying, hey, this keyword has been used in a survey. And so make sure you're looking at that, seeing what they're saying, and responding to that accurately. And then kind of when you are monitoring it, if you're seeing a lot of keywords like hygiene, for instance, you may want to take a look at all those and see if we can be doing anything better on that. Because it's always here, one or here or there. But if you are having multiple keywords or multiple things about maintenance, that's the time to take a look and see kind of what's going on. So another thing is if you're seeing more red alerts on work orders than you are on resident surveys. That's a kind of a hot topic to make sure that you're looking at your work orders or what they're saying. Are we not taking care of work orders effectively? Are we there could be so many things that entails, but just kind of take a step back and look at that, because if you are getting a lot of work order red alerts, that may be an issue. So we need to take a look at that. And always create an action plan. You can always go into the JTurner and pull reports and look at your tally score. Look at your property trends for cleanliness, and then create an action plan to take care of that. If everybody's saying that the dumpsters, I've actually seen this where people on Facebook or social media where people are sharing at not one of our properties, but at a property where people are just throwing their trash like not even in the dumpster, but around it. And I know that's always kind of an issue, but during this time, and people are taking pictures of it and sharing it on Facebook. So that just kind of brings up, are we looking at every aspect of our property? Are we creating an action plan to make sure that those things don't happen? And then taking care of it if it does start to escalate. So you can start to see trends in your report if it relates to cleanliness or sanitation or things like that. So making sure that we're looking at this stuff is the biggest thing during this time, because one, when you have JTurner and you're paying for it, these are things to help you and your property. So we want to make sure that we're double checking it and taking care of these residents. Now, yesterday, a survey went out to all properties, all residents. It asked 6 questions to each resident on how we are doing during this COVID crisis. And this is just used to, find out if there are any angry residents that aren't, telling anybody, because there are some out there probably that, they don't know how to make a review, but they're angry or they have an issue. So that's one way. And then 2, it kind of stops the people from going to the review sites if we're sending them a survey. So that went out yesterday. We started receiving the live links today. I shared them with your regionals, so I'm sure your regionals are going to be sharing that information with you. What's really, really good about this is they sent it to the resident emails, so we are able to see who is making those responses. And then that way you can reach out to that resident and say, hey, I see that you are unhappy about this, and this. Let me help you. And this is just a great way to kind of nip that issue in the butt before they start snowballing, going to review sites, telling their friends, et cetera, et cetera. So this is a crazy time. So we're all trying to do whatever we can to just kind of survive right now. And the same thing with our residents, and we need to be there for them. But that is all I have today about responding to reviews in JTurner dashboard. I think the biggest key takeaway from this is to make sure you're looking at it and monitoring it and then taking care of those items. And if you need help with that, make sure you reach out to your R&D or your regional, because that's what we're here for. We're here to help you out. So does anybody have any questions about JTurner or about responding to reviews or anything like that? Awesome. Well,